This is On the Money with Ryan Wheelis, financial advisor right here in Texas. Although if you're watching us on YouTube, anywhere around the country, feel free. You can click on the link to go to the website. You can call the phone number. We can help you from all around the country. Ryan, I like to call this client case study. We'll get folks in, and I think one of the reasons why people like videos like this and listening to the radio program is hearing how you untangle people's problems. You've talked before about a constrained retirement, not having enough. You have a different, interesting issue here, though.
Overfunded is the opposite end of that spectrum, Spike, and we've got one. I mean, we're calling the segment $12 million, and I've got money problems. And yeah,
I'll take those problems.
Man, you say that. It's not all blue skies and rainbows. It's there's challenges, that the wealthy face, the affluent families face, and how to deal with things. And this particular couple were federal employees. They had some businesses outside of their employment that did reasonably well, that were sold. Then they made some investments in the stock market, bought some individual stocks, held them through the good, bad, and the ugly, and did very well. One of those holdings was Bank of America stock, by the way, which has done reasonably well over a long period of time. Interestingly enough, Warren Buffett just trimmed some of his shares.
I saw that. Yeah.
But they've just done well, and now their federal pensions and their Social Security, which they do get, it more than covers their expenses. So what's happening is, with this $12 million, they really have a hard time getting advice. And it was a really interesting conversation that I had with these folks because they were, I always ask, what is it about your current situation that's got you looking for a new advisor or a new relationship or a new whatever? And then, how did you get here, right? I mean, where are we? So, for instance, these folks were going to various dinner seminars and meeting with the gentleman, nice guy. He just told me, he said, Ryan, I feel like these are all salespeople, He's like, this one guy wants me to take our IRAs and roll them over to a fixed index annuity and then immediately turn around and activate the income rider and then take that income rider payment, pay tax on it, and then overfund a life insurance policy that we can pull cash value out of in 5 to 10 years. And that just doesn't sit well with me. And so I said, well, you're right. I'm glad you didn't do that because that's a really good deal for this advisor. And it's not a good deal for you and your wife, especially considering your tax rates on your income that you currently have. Their pension income combined, by the way, is $500,000 a year. Okay. And so to go start taking money out of an IRA at that tax rate and converting it over to an annuity to buy life insurance at their age, by the way, it just didn't make a lot of sense, right? And so this gentleman, he's not stupid. He's kind of seeing through this stuff. One of the things,
for any of the listeners out there, it's how do they know the difference between getting income plan advice, growth advice, protecting the nest egg, asset preservation, if you will, and getting a sales pitch?
Well, Spike, here's the deal. That's you have to check out who you're working with. You got to trust your gut because this is what I told this gentleman and his wife. It takes less time to become a financial advisor in the state of Texas than it does to become a nail tech, to do nails at a nail spa, or to do massage therapy, or a hair, like to cut hair, a beautician, if you will. It takes more time to become those things than it does to become a financial advisor in the state of Texas. Think about that, okay? And so, look, everybody's got a right to make a living. No problem with that whatsoever. But just make sure that you understand the motives behind the advice you're getting. And if something just doesn't feel right or smell right, check yourself. There's nothing wrong with going to get a second opinion on what somebody else is showing you. And I like that, but this person, Spike, was really, he was to the point where all he was getting was investment consulting knowledge. And investment consulting is, portfolio analysis, risk evaluation, asset allocation, impact of fees and costs in your portfolio over time, investment policy statements. Should you buy an annuity? Should you not buy an annuity? Should you have a life insurance? Things like that. That's just a very basic function. And if that's all you're getting, all that you're talking about when you're talking to an advisor, there's a strong chance that you're actually talking to a salesperson, okay, and not an actual advisor. Because this gentleman and his wife, they view their wealth as something they're never going to need. They don't need it. They're actually saving money from their pension payments today. They're saving money, okay? So their wealth is actually going up from their savings alone, okay? Their problem is they want wealth enhancement. All right, they want their wealth to enhance future generations, and they want to move to living a life of significance and purpose with what they've accumulated. And so, as part of delivering wealth management at Allied Wealth, we focus so much more than just on the investment consulting piece. Again, portfolio analysis, risk evaluation, asset allocation, all that normal stuff. There's so much more to it. Wealth enhancement is keeping your wealth protected, right? They don't want their wealth to unjustly be taken from an auto accident, God forbid, some type of somebody getting injured on one of their properties, or a lawsuit, or taxation. All right. So there's strategies around how to protect from that, and that's an added value that a good advisor does. Their other issue, Spike, is wealth transfer.
That's where I was going to go with it. And just to give you a second to breathe and take a sip of water if you want to, is that so we call it overfunded, and we're at $12 million, and they're going to have pension that they can't even spend annually. They're saving it. The wealth transfer, and we have talked about this, over $90 trillion in wealth transfer will probably happen in the next 30 to 35 years from this baby boomer generation. But how do we do it properly with making sure that half of it isn't lost to taxes as we transfer it to the next generation?
Well, Spike, there's obviously you can do that with a lot of different vehicles, with trust, for instance, in some capacities. One thing they were overlooking was the ability to buy equities today that were promising in longevity, good blue chip stocks and companies that make a product or service that's going to be around for a long period of time, and then passing those stocks along to the next generation via a step up in basis. There's things that you can actually do to buy life insurance with the proceeds of the investment yields and returns, so you can kind of create a perpetual trust, if you will, that will pass money down from generation to generation to generation, which they liked a lot, by the way, and that's properly using life insurance, by the way. But their problem, Spike, is actually their biggest problem is how do they pass this money to the kids and not screw the kids up? I mean, that's really their biggest concern. So they've got 3 kids. One of them has struggled with drugs and alcohol. One of them has done really well, okay? Doesn't need the money. They're likely going to put that kid as the executor, which I told them, by the way, don't do that, okay? Because they're forcing that kid to make the other 2 kids happy, and that's never going to happen, and they're potentially threatening the viability of their family unit by doing that. So I said, don't do that. Find someone else to be the executor, okay, or the trustee. One of the kids is kind of middle of the road. If she gets $20, she spends $40, okay? So we got one that struggled with some drugs and alcohol. We got one that struggles with spending, and one that does really, really well. So how do they pass this wealth down to the next generation, being these kids, and do it in a tax-efficient manner, but not screw the kids up in the process, and not put the kids in a situation where they can just blow the money, because they want to buy some life insurance with these trust proceeds so that the grandkids have money and the grandkids' kids have money, and so on the line. They want a perpetuating legacy, so they truly are using their wealth to impact generations to come. And Spike, that's a whole another level of wealth management that we do for the families we represent at Allied Wealth, which is so far above and beyond the investment consulting piece. We will get to that portion at some point in time, but we can't even talk about that stuff until we get this other stuff right. Okay. So, just because you hear this $12 million number, people might be like envious, thinking that I'd love to have $12 million. Well, if you don't need the money, folks, it can actually create problems for you. And a lot of the families that we represent and act as the personal CFO for, they struggle with these things. And that's one way we add significant value and help our clients and families move from living a life of concern and fear to living a life of significance and purpose, and controlling what happens with their wealth after they pass on.
Ryan, the runway is really close in the window right now, so we got to land this segment real quick. Folks, you can call the phone number right now. Holistic planning includes things like legacy planning. How do we leave that to the next generation as efficiently as possible? And if you haven't been talking about that with your financial advisor, and more importantly, if they haven't been talking about it with you, call the phone number, 844-944-7555. For those listening live on the radio, we have people standing by right now. If you're watching the video, you can still call that phone number. It'll go to a call center. We'll set up an appointment for you, or you can go and schedule it yourself right now, retirenowhouston.com or retirenowAustin.com. On the radio, more with Ryan Wheelis right after this.